All right, virtuous woman, and somebody's wondering who exactly fits into the category of a virtuous woman. All right, you're on to your Women Radio, WFM 91.7, and yes, this is the program, Women of 1325. My name is Melanie Ishola, and oh yes, in the name of virtuosity,
WFM 91.7.
In the name of virtuosity, there's a lot to talk about today, and I am wondering who's joining me to talk about this. Now, the topic before me is women's right in Nigeria. And yes, there's a lot to actually unravel with this particular topic. Now, as we made a debut of the program Women of 1325 last week, I think it's very right for me to say thank you for joining us last week, Tuesday, and yes, for making history with us between the hours of 3 and 4. And we're back today to do something different, to take the conversation forward and be able to express, explain, and of course, teach what we set out to achieve. And as I said last week, that the program Women of 1325 is an initiative of WANEP. Now, to introduce this program to you again, I'd like to say that the United Nations, through various resolutions, recognizes the disparate impact that violent conflict has on women. And of course, they've gone ahead to highlight the fact that generally women have been left out of peace processes, reconstruction, and stabilization efforts. They also recognize that it is imperative that for the full and equal participation of women at all levels, ranging from conflict prevention to post-conflict reconstruction, peace and security, women be involved. These resolutions, amongst a host others, frame the Women, Peace and Security agenda. Women of 1325, in summary, is the radio program that shows the hope, and of course the hopes rather, to show you what to attain, the female gender inclusivity, protection and equality. Again, our topic today is women's right in Nigeria, and I'm not doing this alone. I'm going to be joined very shortly by Bridget Osakwe. Bridget Osakwe is the National Network Coordinator, WANEP Nigeria. And yes, we're going to be having a very robust conversation on our topic today. Now, attaining equality between women and men, I think in recent times in Nigeria, is actually a topic that's been on the front burner. And yes, if you would look at this in all its angles, aspects, and entirety, I think there is a lot we have to engage on the program today. Now, if we want to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women, and of course, knowing that fundamental human rights, are equally women's rights, then we really need to have this conversation. Now, women around the world regularly suffer from, a lot of issues in the society. Number one, which I would say is violation of their human rights throughout their lifetime sometimes. And of course, realizing that women's human rights, have not actually always been a priority. And when you look at countries in Africa, you'll find this, more often than not to be true. Now, achieving equality between women and men requires a comprehensive understanding of the way in which women experience discrimination and the ways in which women are denied equality, so as to develop appropriate strategies to eliminate such discrimination in our society. Now, as I said, I have Bridget Osakwe, who is joining me now in the conversation. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, ma. All right, so again, Bridget Osakwe is the National Network Coordinator, WANEP Nigeria. And again, our topic today is women's right in Nigeria. So for starters, ma'am, I'd like to know what your overview would be of the rights of women in Nigeria. Are women aware that they have rights? Should women's rights be separate from basic human rights?
Thank you very much, Melanie.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Women's rights are human rights.
Okay.
So they cannot be separated.
Okay.
And I want to start my intervention with the law on the VAP law, the Violence
Against Persons Prohibition Act.
Act, which clearly protects women's rights. and sees women's rights as human rights. That is why that law says violence against persons, because women are persons.
Okay.
And then, at the international level, we have the UN Charter on Human Rights. At the African level, we have African Charter on Women's Rights. Even at the ECOWAS level, we all have all this framework that protects women's rights. Our constitution do say so. We have the gender policies. We have all this framework that protects women's rights. But I must say that the challenge has always been the implementation of all these frameworks that abide.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. It's good that we set the tone for the conversation the way that you've done. Now, I also need to rejig the memories of those who listened to us last week to say that I remember last week what we spoke about was an overview of women in peace building. And yes, we explained that to be the first formal and legal document from the Security Council that requires parties in a conflict to prevent violations of women's right, to support women's participation in peace negotiations and in post-conflict reconstructions, and to protect women and girls from sexual and gender-based violence in armed conflict. All this that I have said is actually to explain to you the real importance, or the meaning, if you would, of the Women of 1325, which we have said is a resolution of the UNSC. All right, so going forward in our conversation today, do not forget that today is dedicated to women's rights in Nigeria. And you have heard what Bridget Ozakwe had to say. Now, ma'am, there are certain things that I want to read out here. You know, there is such thing as the enacted protocol on rights of women.
Yes.
And of course, it states that Nigerian women are granted the right to dignity, the right to life, the right to integrity, the right to security of persons, freedom from harmful practices which negatively affects the human rights of women, equal rights in marriage, equal rights in cases of separation, divorce and annulment, the right to equal protection and benefit of the law, the right to participate in political and decision-making process, the right to a peaceful existence and participation in the promotion and maintenance of peace, the right to education and training, equal opportunity in work and career advancement, the right to health, including sexual and reproductive rights, the right to food security, the right to adequate housing, the right to a positive cultural context, the right to a healthy and sustainable environment, the right to sustainable development, widows' rights, the right to equitable sharing inheritance, the right of elderly women to special protection and freedom from violence, the right of women with disabilities to special protection and freedom from violence, the right of women in distress to special protection, and the right of remedy to any woman whose right of freedom has been violated. Now, when you look at all of this, it's all inclusive, all encompassing. It looks like if these things would be implemented, then women do not have problem. To corroborate what you have said with the fact that the implementation is where we are defaulting. Now, with all of this that I have said, I can begin to tell you and even state instances where I've come across one or two persons with testimonies of how the rights have been violated in all of these things that are stated up here. Now, with what WANEP is doing, ma'am, what can you tell me is the future of having the implementation of women's rights in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. For us, our core work is collaborative peace building, which means that we cannot do it alone. We collaborate with every relevant person, agencies, institutions, and organizations that will promote women's rights.
Okay.
If it is the media that will promote women's rights and protect women's rights, we'll work with those people. And ours is to see, on one hand, strengthen the relationship that exists within the community, because where there is peaceful coexistence, there will be no abuse of anybody's rights, including women's rights. And where there is respect for dignity for human beings, there will be no abuse for women's rights. And then on the other hand, we enhance the capacity of women to know that they have these rights, and these rights, how they can use their rights and enforce them within their community. And at times, educating women themselves again help them not to reinforce some of the negative values of abuse of rights. I'll take an example where we see that, like harmful traditional practices, for instance.
Okay.
We find that women again practice it against other women out of ignorance. So we take it as a responsibility to educate them on the implications of their actions on their sisters, on their daughters and their granddaughters to come. We build their capacity to be empowered. And you know, for me, Dua had defined empowerment as being at peace with yourself without an external force.
Being at peace with yourself without an external force?
Yes. That is the only, when we say we are empowering women, we are empowering them to be at peace with themselves. And when you are at peace, your rights are not abused. When you are at peace, you enjoy freedom from fear, freedom from domestic abuse, freedom from societal abuse, discrimination, and all abuses within our community.
All right.
And so, we build their capacity to that stage and help to socialize them among their family to be good community members.
Okay, thank you.
Identify, at times, some women do not know when their rights are abused. Because the society has made it so much that some of these rights are so abused that are taken for granted. Some women do not know that health is their right, for instance.
Okay. All right. So, ma'am, I'm going to take the conversation from you because, you know, as rightly as you have spoken, I'd like to corroborate it to say, let's look at this angle. Now, sometimes in 2003, the number of women in the House of Representatives was 23%, only 6% of the general number of representatives, and the number of women in the Senate was only 4%, which is 3%. After the election in 2007, the numbers went to 27%. That's 7.5%, and 9%, which was 8% respectively, both at the Senate and the House of Rep. Now today, it's such a bizarre realization that the percentage of women in positions of leadership is nothing to write home about. Now, when we speak about this is Women Radio. Sometimes we get responses that are shocking. You know, even to know that women are not supporting women could be why women are losing out more in elective positions in Nigeria. But that's really not where I want us to pitch our tent right now. I'd like us to look at this event that happened 3 years ago when the Senate declined a project of the law which would forbid any form of discrimination against women. The law was able to protect the rights of women and make them equal with those of men in marriage, inheritance, politics, and education. Now, some senators spoke out that such a law would go against the national, cultural, traditional, and of course all the other beliefs of Nigerians. Others thought it to be so senseless to have a separate law for the rights of women, while the Constitution already guarantees equal rights for men and women. Another cruel tradition which has ruined or even taken the lives of many women in Nigeria and other countries is the issue of female genital mutilation. You know, this issue in Nigeria is so serious that we may actually be the nation with the highest figure the world over. And of course, it's another topic on its own. But I would like to actually pitch this with the talk on the family planning decision making. Just this morning, I saw on a national television where it was being discussed that even the decision to go ahead and have a family planning done is not a woman's decision. Hence the question, whose body is it? Who suffers it? We know what the rate of mortality in Nigeria, maternal mortality, and of course even infant mortality is in Nigeria today. The man will not carry the pregnancy, howbeit he may be responsible. Why then should these rights be dependent on consent from another entity?
Because in the first instance, women do not know that health is a right. And if we say health, whose health are we talking about?
Women's health.
It's women's health. And if we have to protect women's health, who takes the decision?
Women. But unfortunately, in most cases, from what we have, from what statistics says, it's men. There's the issue of the consent has to be given by the man in the home on how you space your children, on when he wants to have his children, on when he wants you pregnant. And these are the issues we've had, to interrogate from time to time.
But of course, like I said before, we have talked about the issue of socialization.
Okay.
We have been socialized to believe that the man decides everything. If that is the definition of patriarchy, so the women, even you will be surprised that it is the woman even that the doctor tells the woman voluntarily goes to take the husband and goes to take the permission from the husband. Because that is to the extent that she knows. Do you expect like me now to be seeking my husband's consent for contraception or seeking my husband's consent otherwise? And because of the literacy level, people take advantage of people's ignorance, mostly women's ignorance. That is why, for instance, a woman needs the husband's consent to go and have contraception. That is purely on ignorance level. But again, we see a situation like, if I come back to women in
politics, yes,
public life,
yes,
incidentally, it has dropped to 5.something%.
5.4 at the moment.
And then, when you compare it to other African countries, you see the difference.
I think we are the least with regards to female. Yes.
The next one is 20-something%.
Absolutely, the margin is rather high.
You say the margin.
Yes.
Whereas in the same African country, we say we have African culture. What is that culture? And then we look at the ceiling. There's something they call glass ceiling that is it's called glass ceiling because it's never fed.
Shattered.
And yet, it limits women every day. It limits on what women can do. It limits on how women can aspire to be. And of course, in issues of elections are far won before the election date.
Absolutely.
And so, it is for me that we begin to work before even the primaries, from the registration of voters and all that. At times, I look at myself and say, this is very depressing. I can't believe that all these 20-something years that we have been saying this and that things are still so bad in Nigeria. But the consolation is that very recently we have seen spontaneous responses to women's rights abuses in Nigeria.
Yes. Yes.
For me, it's very consoling.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Women of 1325. And yes, it is the second episode on the program, on the radio station, WFM 91.7. And yes, this program is an initiative of WANEP. WANEP is West African, if I'm not getting it wrong, Women in Peace Building. Oh, I just hope I didn't get that wrong. WANEP is West African Network for Peace Building. And yes, I've been speaking with Bridget Osakwe. And of course, our topic today is women's right in Nigeria. And yes, so much to still touch on, so much to still talk about. I'd like for you to join the conversation now by putting a call across to us, 07000 917 917 09025 625455. And yes, just so you know, you can listen to us from any part of the world. We stream live on www.wfm917.com. And yes, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at WFM917. Just use the hashtag Women of the Team 25 to contribute, and your comments would be read out. Now, yes, you can send a text message or WhatsApp to the number 07031 756537, and yes, get to contribute today. We're talking women's right in Nigeria. Now, a lot of people said a lot of things that women enjoy today. The fact that we can go to school, you and I can hold certain positions, we can even work. That the things that some generation of women have fought for. Therefore, on a day like this, we stand tall in certain regards with our male counterparts. And so a lot more still needs to be done. However, the fight, as it's been said, that has happened, time immemorial. I'd like for us to now look at results with regards to the women's right activism in Nigeria. When you compare it with what's happening on the global scale, ma'am, what exactly, how would you rate the progress made by human's right or women's right activism in Nigeria?
Anyway, I would not want to put the scale the same, because our standards, our contexts and realities are not the same. But I must say that we are not doing very well at all. We just discussed about the percentages of women in public life.
Yes.
And Nigeria stands at 5.4.
Yes.
5.4 over 100, my sister, you know what it is. And, this translates in other aspects of our lives. I always tell people that when you have two hands and one hand is carrying the load, and then let's say now 5.4 of the other hand is helping you, that's what it means. So invariably, Nigeria will be operating in 54.4% energy. Where does that take us compared to other aspects in life?
That's true.
So, that abuse of women might look like abuse of women in the focus, but in the actual sense of it, it is abuse of Nigerians' rights. And you know that abuse of women's rights is not secluded to the house alone. From the domestic violence that women suffer from their husband and their relatives,
True.
different forms, to the widowhood, female genital mutilation, and even the discrimination that they face within their marriages is something else. We have the inheritance rights that are not there.
Yes.
And most of these things, some states in Nigeria have gone ahead to
Domesticate.
legislate against
Yes.
them.
Yes.
But can we say that even within the states that have legislated against them, that women are enjoying their full rights in those states?
All right. So these are the things that we're interrogating on the program today. Now, citizens of Nigeria, listening to us now, you're probably from a state. You're definitely from a state in Nigeria. So basically, it'll be good for you to talk about the practices, against or for women where you're from. Now, recently I came across the, second realization of the harmful widowhood practices in Nigeria in the different, regions of the country. Now, I'm going to look at, without meaning to, prescribe any tribe or, zone in Nigeria. I'm just going to look at the southeastern part of Nigeria. I was there just before the International Widows Day, which was last month. And I can categorically tell you, from what I heard, having interviewed about 10 widows, that the reality on ground there is really ugly. Now, recently in the news, we heard of a particular stakeholder asking that the Nigerian government actually pays widows a certain stipend monthly, to actually help alleviate the struggles that widows go through. Would you say that this is a worthy cause to actually fight for?
For paying widows stipends, in that government perspective, is a relief.
Yes.
Because they would have appreciated that a source of livelihoods have been taken away without any support. In their own perspective, they think that they are supporting the widow in one way or the other. But again, it is like a privilege. But we do know that rights are not privileges.
Absolutely. And
so, doing such token or tokenism does not serve as right. What we should be expecting from such government agencies is to enact policies and implement the enforcement, see to the enforcement of such laws that protect women's rights. For instance, if you say a man and a woman built a home together,
yes,
and then the man dies because, of course, the man is older, so he dies before the woman.
In most cases?
In most cases. And then the inheritance of that family that were built jointly by the man and woman should automatically go to the woman. And where there are children, to take care of the children and maintain the family. But oftentimes you see where brothers spring up from nowhere to inherit their brothers, to the neglect of the children and the wife. And so, if any government is interested in assisting the widows, for instance, they should enforce such laws.
Laws.
And ensure that no man takes away anything from a widow when the husband is gone.
So this would translate into protection of widows' rights to you. It is not enough, according to you, to just pay them stipend or just tokenism, as you've said it, but to ensure that there are actually laws backing the right treatment of widows and ensuring that what belongs to them is duly given to them. Thank you very much for your contribution on the program. Yes, you're listening to Women of 1325. This is your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. My name is Melanie Ishola, and I have been conversing with Bridget Osakwe. Now, we're talking about women's rights in Nigeria, and of course, we've spoken from different dimensions. But again, I like to talk about the fact that though the elective positions are now decided, all right, the selective or appointive are still open. It's ongoing. And so very quickly, ma'am, I'd like for you to tell me what can be done. Because in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari's first democratic regime, he did promise that it would implement the 35% affirmative action, whereby at least there will be 35% of women in his governance. But we didn't see that in that last administration. However, this is another regime, and he's promised us again. How and what can we do this time? Because I think whatever we do now may just be timely intervention to ensure that this promise becomes a reality. I'm borrowing your word again. It is a right, not a privilege.
Yes, with due apology to whoever, I'm not used to believing in campaign promises anymore because of past experiences. At times I just wonder, do they say these things because of saying, to appeal to us to get our votes, and then they forget what they promise. But on the other hand, the onus is on us to hold them accountable for their promises.
Okay.
It is for us to say, okay, you said this, and now, what is this? So I think it's our responsibility to begin to ask questions.
All right. So in simple terms, right now that we are the heart of actually getting the list of who's going to be what in this administration, ma'am, what can we do? What can women do? What can Nigerians do? They're listening. So I personally want to do something. How can I hold the government accountable? What media can I use? What platform can I use to ensure that the government listens and hears me?
Thank you very much. You have a very good platform on the media and on the radio that you're already using.
Yes.
Now, you will not stop using it. It's for us to keep advocating for more women in public spaces. We will not stop talking and we will not stop asking. Unfortunately, these days, when you begin to ask for such accountability, they read political meaning into your questioning. You hear people asking, she's PDP,
somebody has paid you.
Which party is she aligning to? Whereas women's rights does not know party.
Absolutely.
When a woman's right is abused, it goes beyond boundary. Project Alert on Violence Against Women in 2004 had a national research.
Yes.
And the name of that book is called Beyond Boundaries. So women's rights abuse, people should not look at the boundaries of political affiliations. So if I come out to say, now, Mr. President, this is what you promised us, give it to us. People should not ask, what party is she
affiliated with?
And why is she asking questions? You want to bring this government down? You want to try because you don't like the government and all that. I think that we should be interested in promoting women's and protecting women's rights.
Okay.
Irrespective of political affiliation. Abuse of women's rights, if you see, when they abuse women's rights, that time they don't know whether it is any party green or party blue. Because if that is the case, party A, for instance, does not have 50% in political office, neither is party B.
Absolutely.
We are coming from PDP to APC government. None of them has excelled in affirmative actions.
Yes.
So what I am saying, irrespective of the ruling party, irrespective of the government in power, let women's rights be promoted. Let women be protected.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let women's rights be protected. And of course, I stand by that as well on the program today. Studio time has come to 18 minutes before the top of the hour 4. And yes, you're listening to the women of 1325 on your Women Radio, WFM 91.7. Now, very quickly, since we're talking women's rights, I think it is very, very right that we talk about what's been making the news recently. Now, I'd like for us to start from the issue of the senator, Elias Abo, who actually, yes, infringed on a woman's right at a sex toy shop in Abuja. And a lot has happened, yes, since that development, since that news broke. So a lot of people have demanded accountability, and a lot of his colleagues too have actually risen up in the floors of the National Assembly to demand that something be done. However, it's still a continuum, it's still in the process. So at the moment, there's been a bill of 50 million that's been asked, to be paid by him. And of course, some people asked also that he actually compensates the woman that was abused, physically assaulted at that shop, of which a sum of 5 million naira was said to have been paid to her. Now, there's a way this battle has turned on the social media. To the intent, people are making a value of it, saying, if I would just be slapped right now and collect 5 million naira. Now, that's an angle that I think for somebody who's passionate about fighting for women's rights or women's activism would actually sort of, offend you. Because I found it very offensive, when women began to talk about that. And the very fact itself that to compensate the woman would mean to give her a sum of money. How exactly does that translate in this whole matter?
In the first instance, Nigeria makes joke on everything. Whatever it is, they make joke on it. Even serious matter.
Yes.
That said, but coming to Senator Abu, what comes around goes around.
All right. How do you mean?
I am constrained not to speak on it because the case is in court.
Yes.
But from the evidence that are bound in the public domain, he was a wife beater. So he is used to abusing women in his life. So when that day comes, that judgment day, it doesn't take long. He even himself wouldn't believe that this day will come. And that is an example. It's a precedent to other men that abuse women's rights in Nigeria. There will be a day.
Okay.
That day that you least expect it. I took my time to read about it and look at the incidents that happened. He was so arrogant and did that thing with impunity. He is so used to doing that. He would have grown up abusing women. But when karma wants to catch you, it catches you in real time. And I'm on a very long time. Me, I'm happy because this one will serve as a precedent to other men and caution them, mostly men in public places. And now our young boys will be looking at it and say, oh, if this thing can happen to a senator, it can happen to anybody.
Absolutely.
I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the women leaders of Nigeria.
Yes.
The way they have risen up on this occasion.
Thank you. Now, there is a development close to this too, ma'am, which is the issue of the Busola Dakolo and Pastor Biodun Fatoyinbo. It's been a rape allegation, and of course, there have been a lot of development on this as well. As we stand, the issue has been filed by Busola, and of course, assault and the rest of that. Now, these issues are closed, all right? From Senator Abbas' case to the Busola Dakolo Biodun Fatoyinbo's case, it's just issues of abuse. There are issues of whether physical or sexual abuse, which they are linked, if you ask me. But another issue that I'd like us to talk about is the emotional abuse, the trauma, and this would quickly drag me to bring the girl child into the situation. Now, I'm going to be looking at certain cultures in Nigeria where as soon as you're given birth to, you are betrothed as a wife to a certain person, or maybe an old man or a young man, but you're already betrothed. And customarily, because of that, you're not allowed education and the rest of certain social privileges that your male counterparts would enjoy, just because you are birthed to come and be married. And so, as soon as you reach a certain age, you're whisked off, just like that. How do we advocate for girls' rights beyond what we're already doing in Nigeria?
Melanie, thank you very much. You have said a mouthful, and
Yes,
I would suggest that we unpack them gradually. Luckily, this program is going to run for 1 year.
Absolutely.
And please, anyone that we see, like this girl child, I think that we should create a whole day for it.
Absolutely.
And publicize it very well. So I'm not going to, I will excuse not to respond to that one, this one. But can you use this opportunity to tell Timi Dakolo that is my hero? Timi Dakolo did me proud as a man. We do have this project that we're working with men for women's rights. Those feminist men that support women in protecting women's rights. I am bringing this up because if Timi Dakolo didn't support the wife, Busola wouldn't have had the courage to come out to say.
And speak out, yes.
And I just love the way Timi has been supporting Busola in this process. It is when men begin to support women to bring out this issue that we see end to this abuse of women. Now, they will see it that Busola is married and the husband is supporting her. They will think twice. Any other man or a pastor that will think that you should be happy that a pastor, a man of God. What man of God? What man of God is that abuses women's rights? That abuses woman's integrity? That abuses the body of another person? Didn't God say that a woman's right is the temple of God? And then you say you are a man of God? Now, the issue is in the public domain, and I'm happy that he has stepped down. And the way Senator Abo is being tried, I hope he will be tried like that, because some other women are coming out.
Yes.
Again, this is why you will see a lot of other people coming out gradually. Now they are seeing support. This is the place of support. When you ask me what are we going to do in protecting women's rights, this support is what women need. Now they know that when they come out, they are not going to be condemned. In other clans, I don't think Busola came out and everybody shouting, go and sit down, go, you are a liar. She would have drawn back to her shell. But now she got the support and other women are coming out. And there are other men like that, very many in high places. There was this man in Edo State, in Edo State House of Assembly, many years ago. He was sleeping with the wife sisters. All the wife sisters that were in the house, he was sleeping with them. And then when they tried to talk, he used his power, abuse of the power again. He used the power to clamp everything down because he started saying that they are political enemies.
Oh my goodness.
So he was sleeping with the one sister right inside their house.
So as we speak, there was no justice served to this particular man in Edo State.
No.
So now the process of getting justice, a lot of people have come out to say for women it is expensive, and that's why most times women do not actually go ahead to get justice. They say because of course amongst the wretched of the earth, women and children are the poorest, the most wretched. Therefore the price tag to justice has prevented women from speaking out a lot. However, in recent times, I think things are changing, and of course, there are a lot of women's rights groups like yours that have risen up to ensure that things change. But I'd like to ask at this juncture, as we prepare to make a wrap on the program today, how well have you enjoyed support from women folks in your quest for the liberation of women in Nigeria?
Oh, thank you very much. I have enjoyed tremendous support from women folk. It's not because I'm talking on women's radio.
Okay.
But I want to use women's radio as an example.
Okay.
That gave us a platform for this program. I do know the support that we are having, we are enjoying because it is women's radio. So this program, for us to be having this conversation today, is the support of women's radio. That is one. Other feminist groups in different platforms, in their different corners, lend their support any day that we have it. But again, ONEP is a network, so we are always collaborating with others in promoting and protecting women's rights. For me, people have argued that women bring out women. I have never experienced it. I have always had women support me personally, in my personal life, and even in my professional life. And at organizational level, we have collaborated with other women's platforms, and we continue to collaborate with other women's platforms. I think that together, we unite for peace in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much for that very one. Of course, that was a robust response to my question. Now, very lastly, a lot's been said, and I think my take home today, number one of my take homes from what you've said today would be the fact that we need to take it beyond, clamoring to ensuring that the laws are implemented, that actually support and uphold the rights of women. Now, in our different quarters, as we've listened on the program today, as we make a wrap, I'd like for you to share ways that women groups can arise to compel different states. There are a lot of, criminal codes and a lot of laws in our land, federal laws, that have still not been domesticated in different states of the nation. You look at the VAP Act, for example, it's only been domesticated in about 20-something states. And you look at a lot of northern states, they're still yet to be, domesticated. So for you, what would you advocate that female groups, arise at this time to do to ensure that the real progress that we desire, become a reality?
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
women's group in different states should rise up to, first of all, there are some laws that have been enacted that are just lying there that they do not know about how to use. I was in one of the states the other day. I was telling them that, this state has enacted laws against widowhood practice. They said no. I told them that I know it, that they should go and check. So I'm just using that as an example.
Okay.
If you are working in a particular state, go and find out all the laws that have been enacted in that state. When you know the laws that have been enacted, then you will know the ones that are pending, maybe that have not been domesticated at the national level to be used in the state.
Yes.
And then find ways of challenging. I'm not a lawyer, but a lawyer friend of mine told me that the reason why people challenge cases in court is to test and use it for precedent. It is during the challenge or testing in court that a lot of these things come out, a lot of the truths come out. Let us begin to speak up. The culture of silence was one thing that was killing us in Nigeria. Now we are breaking that culture. Let us begin to speak up.
Thank you.
Let us mobilize.
Thank you. Let us break the culture of silence. Let us begin to speak up. So much nuggets that I have gotten from what you've said on the program today. Once again, I want to say a big thank you to you, Bridget Osakwe, for joining me on the program today.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Bridget Osakwe is National Network Coordinator, WANEP Nigeria. And yes, in Nigeria, numerous cultural barriers hinder women's development as citizens and professionals, which must be analyzed through socio-cultural and economic contexts, some of which we have analyzed on the program today. Now, women in Nigeria face many challenges and discriminatory practices under some extant laws and customs. The Nigerian society is inherently patriarchal. This is due to the influence of the various religions and customs in many parts of Nigeria. Women are seen as the weaker sex, and discriminatory practices by the state and society, especially by men, are condoned. This narrative and conditions set aside for women welcomes the need for an action plan. Hence, women have got to take a deliberate and precise effort to unite and put an end to the violation of our rights and also ensuring gender equality in all ramifications. It is against this backdrop that the Women of 1325 has come to provide a framework for the protection of women and inclusion of gender perspective in peace-building activities. Women of 1325 is sponsored by WANEP, and WANEP is West African Network for Peace Building with support from the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD, and Women in Peace Building Network, that's WIPNET. And of course, every Tuesday between the hours of 3 and 4, Women of 1325 holds. And yes, this is where I want to say a big thank you to my producer, Anthony Diomelda, and the entire production crew. Of course, Blessing Kale and Joy Ureye. Not forgetting Kels Okezie. My name is Melanie Ishola. Make it a date with me again. Same station next week, Tuesday. Good afternoon.
WFM 91.7.